Like overall, yeah, explain about your study routine, like how many hours were you giving and what was the goal for every day generally?
They can also try to read about holidays or les loisirs ou les activités santé, santé mentale, choses comme ça, time. I still remember the first time I was reading an article in French. It took me 6 hours to decode it and completely write all the words that I didn't.
So Himani, I want to ask this question on the behalf of beginners as well, on the behalf of intermediates as well, those who are learning French. What advice would you give to both of them, for those who are in the beginning journey but also in their mid journey of learning French? What are the important things in writing when it comes to getting up to that level of NCLC 7 level of writing? So what do you think? Alright, so welcome to this video. Today I'm going to talk about one of my students who cleared her TEF Canada exam not only in a very short amount of time, but when she cleared her exam, she just got her PR invite the next day. Let me tell you how, okay? So she has been preparing French and she has been learning French with Frenchify for about 7 months, okay? After that, she gave her exam on 2nd September. She cleared the exam. On 3rd September morning, she received the result and she updated her profile in CEC. And right on that day, 3rd September, if you literally Google, you will see that CEC draw came in at 534 and her score was a lot more than 534, and that's how she received her PR invite. So this is the power of learning French. In today's video, I'm going to connect with her in detail and I'm going to talk about a lot of things on how she did everything step by step, how Frenchify helped her in her French learning journey and helping her clear her TEF Canada exam as quickly as possible. In this video, we're going to first of all talk about the timeline of her going from beginner to B2. We are also going to talk about study routine, what study methodology and routine she followed on a regular basis, what were the things she used to focus on. We're also going to talk about how many number of attempts it took her and what was her planning for the first and for the final attempt in which she cleared her exam. We're also going to discuss with her on when it is the right time to book your first attempt, because this is something that a lot of students are confused in. Some people would like to give it sooner or later, so we are going to discuss about that in detail as well. And then exam experience, we are going to talk about in detail how was her exam experience and what tips does she have for people those who are preparing TEF Canada for all the aspects, which includes reading, listening, speaking and writing. And then at the end, we are going to wrap up with some important tips for beginners but also for intermediates. So stay up until the end, because this is going to be a video which will be packed with the information, a very useful information which will make your French learning more efficient. So let's begin. Hello Himani, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. Today we are doing this reporting because we only had one mic, so that's why it's going to be like this, but I hope that is fine for everyone. So Himani just cleared her TEF Canada exam. Yeah, how's the feeling now after clearing it?
I mean, I can't really express it enough, but it feels like, wow, it's been an amazing journey and finally I'm done with it. So it feels like just an amazing.
Yeah. Because you started with Frenchify from A2, right? Before than that, the preparation or the basic, beginning phase of French, how did you start that? How did you start learning?
So when I first started, I was initially contemplating if I should be learning French or if I shouldn't, because I had so many questions in my mind if it's going to be possible at all. But I had started learning from basics. I had done some grammar exercises and had started listening to some of the videos, had started reading a little bit, but after that I realized that it's not gonna be done just like that. I'll need some guidance, and more than anything I was feeling alone in my journey, so I felt like if I have some support in terms of at least someone who's there to tell me or guide me in the right direction, it's going to work out well. So I joined Frenchify. I got to know it from YouTube, of course, and after that I decided to join Frenchify so that I can at least stay on track or at least have a sense of community, that I'm not alone. There are other people who are in the same boat as I am. So that quite helped me. I started from A2 because I had some basics.
Right.
But yeah, I started from A2 in the beginning of February this year, and then moved to B1 with Frenchify, then finally to B2. And after I moved to B2, I started practicing specifically for exam. And yeah, within 2 months of moving to B2, I cleared TEF just yesterday. So yeah.
And talking about your timeline as well, it was because like I have it in front of me. I'll read timeline for everyone so that everyone can understand. So you started with A2. The exact date was 4th February, and then you went on to B1 on 28th March, and then B2 on 26th May. So if we talk about the overall how much time it took, it was like about 7 months from the time you started from A2 up to B2, like up to clearing the exam, right? So how was your what was your study routine? How much did you studied on regular basis, and how did you manage learning French? And like overall, yeah, explain about your study routine. Like how many hours were you giving, and what was the goal for every day generally?
Honestly, it fluctuated. It wasn't that I was sitting for 4 or 5 hours every day. I had days when I wasn't feeling like doing all of the tasks, all of the modules.
Yeah.
So to be very honest, it fluctuated. So some days I gave 3 hours, some days it was 4 or 5 hours. But on average, I would say I didn't miss out on studying French any day. So like, even if I wouldn't be able to like take mocks or read for hours, I would just do something each day that keeps me into it, like that I don't forget language or anything. So like I would either listen to a video or any audios, or it's just something that keeps me hooked. So-
Because the main thing is about consistency. Because like it happened to me as well. Like all the other students, those who gave the exam. It's what they also mention is that it's more about the regular consistency rather than trying to focus always on like 4 hours, 5 hours on daily basis. Because let's say few days, even if you're like studying 1 hour or 2 hours, that's okay as long as you're studying something, right? So it doesn't exactly have to be like 4 or 5 hours on regular basis. Definitely that's the best we can focus on to, but doing consistently studying on regular basis is the way to go, right?
Yeah, of course. And I also found out, like recently, I had been reading about this, and then I realized that it's not about how many hours you put in. Like, it's not that if you put in 8 hours for 2 months, it's gonna magically happen.
Right.
Because it takes time for your brain to adjust to a new language.
Correct.
So longevity is more important than the speed of learning. Because if you're learning something for 2 years, but you're giving 1 hour for 2 years, versus if you're learning something for just 2 months and giving 12 hours a day,
It's
the
not going
2
to-
year, because
Right.
like your brain gets adjusted to a language even if you do it for 5 minutes every day, and then it just naturally comes to you. So
There are a lot of students who want to learn and get CLB 7 in 5-6 months as well. Do you think that is really achievable given all the hard work that you have done, which still obviously took you like 8 to 9 months, in order to go from a complete beginner to advanced? Like, what do you think about that scenario?
yeah, like rather than thinking about whether those claims are right or not, I would just say if you feel like you can do it in 4 months, you should first start, because like that's a good motivation for
Correct.
someone who just who's contemplating
Yeah.
that if they should start it or not. If they believe it, oh, I can do it in 4 months, then just like even if they start, they'll realize that it's a process and it's going to take them a bit longer.
Correct.
But it's never going to happen if they don't start. So I would still say that it's a good thing that you believe that it's going to happen in 4 months and just start. It's going to take you longer than 4, but at least you'll have a start.
Yeah, because see, the thing is, even let's say if you have started believing that it can happen in 4 months, and if you're really working hard enough, then let's say if not 4 months, it can happen in like 7 months or 6 months at max. But still, it's like a good intention. You're starting with a good intention. Why? Because now at least you're taking the first step. Because like there are still people who are like, okay, I want to do it in 6 months, but when they come to know they can't do it in 6 months, then they're like, okay, I'm not gonna do it at all, right? So
Yeah, I feel like it's really important to take each day as a step and not be like, oh, where am I at the end of 2-3 months? But instead, you just try to celebrate little wins instead of looking at the bigger picture all at once. Because if you're, let's say, able to have a conversation in French, or if you're able to read an article, that's a big win, right? When I could actually buy my first book that was in French, I was really happy about it, and that was my little win moment. So I think those add up, and in the end, you can like get to where you want to be.
Let's talk about how many attempts Himani gave. So Himani gave her first attempt, actually 2 in total. So that was great. Okay, she cleared her exam in 2 attempts only in the second attempt. In the first attempt, she gave it on 20th June 2025, in which she got B2, NCLC 8 in reading, NCLC 6 in listening, NCLC 6 in writing, and NCLC 7 in speaking. Himani, even that was pretty good score. I know it's not like least 7 for all 4, but I mean, considering this was your first attempt, reading NCLC 8, speaking NCLC 7. What do you have to say about that? Like, what was your experience, or kind of like what was your overall thought process once you gave the exam, once you got your result after your first attempt? What did you think that, okay, now it feels like it's like 90% there? What was your overall thought process?
Yeah, it definitely gave me a boost.
Yeah.
So before I was doubting myself a little bit, but once I got the results and once I could see that I was almost there, I could clearly see the path ahead, and I felt that maybe it's just a matter of 1 or 2 more months, and then I can clear it. So it gave me a confidence boost. I got to know what are my stronger and weaker aspects. So I got to know that I need to focus more on writing, a little more on listening. So that's what I did for the next 2 months, and kept on doing the reading and speaking as usual.
Yeah, and that also makes me highlight this very important point about the first attempt, like on when to give the first attempt. There are some students who are like, I want to just give it after A2, after they have not properly started speaking, they just still want to give their first attempt just to see where they stand, or some give it just for the hope of getting CLB 7 somehow, but what do you think is the importance of first attempt? I know you mentioned that it helps you to work on the weak aspects and strong aspects, and learn French accordingly after that. But what are the like if you were booking your first attempt again, going back into the time, what were the important factors that you would consider that, okay, if I do this, then I can book my first attempt? What would be those?
I think the most important thing is analyzing how are you doing in mock tests, because there are many resources available where you can take some mock TEF exams. So people who think that they just want to give, they want to attempt an exam just to see how the exam structure is like, they don't really need to go and actually book a real test to see that. There are so many other mock tests available which mimic the exact test conditions. So they can obviously take that. In my opinion, it's not like the most important thing to keep on booking the attempts, but it's when you feel like you're at a level where you can comfortably take the test. If the mock tests don't give you a headache, if you feel like you're getting comfortable with the speed at which you need to answer, if you're feeling comfortable expressing yourself, if you're able to understand the questions that they're asking you about, then I think you can try taking the mock test. So I would say at least you need to be at B2 level. And even then, there's another aspect. So you need to practice for the test. You need to train yourself for the test. So I see 2 different aspects here. It's not just about learning French. It's 50-50. 50% is your language competency, and the rest 50% is your test-taking skills, because this test is quite demanding. It's not DELF or DAL for any other French language in general. I think TEF tests your overall language level, and more sort of how can you understand the meaning behind what the paragraph is, or if you can understand the overall topic of the audio that you heard. It's not like what were they talking about and then you have an easy answer. It's more like understanding the nuances, or like the essence behind what the conversation is about. So you might not find the direct, easy answer, but you'd have to like think upon it, reflect on it. So that requires some serious test-taking skills, and that can only be built by practicing. And you need some time for that. So you need at least 1 or 2 months to develop that skill to take a test that's this demanding and rigorous.
True. Yeah, because for listening, for reading, it's very important to manage time. For speaking, it's very important to have all those template answers ready, and for writing as well, very important to have a proper structure. So those things are very, very important. Let's talk about exam experience, Himani. First of all, let's start from writing, because I think that was the aspect which we were worried about a little bit, right? So what are the important things in writing when it comes to getting up to that level of NCLC 7 level of writing? So what do you think, according to your experience, were the things that you had to work on?
Yeah. So I think the very first thing for any module is practice.
Yeah.
You need to practice more. You need to be consistently practicing and training yourself. You need to reflect on your mistakes. It's not about writing 10 essays or more than that. You need to go back to the ones that you've written and correct your mistakes, look at them, identify the patterns of the mistakes you're making, and work on those. Another thing is speed and training yourself for the exam. So you need to, if you have a mechanical keyboard, just get that and try to type on it, because like those little things matter. I would recommend typing faster and then saving yourself some time to go back and check it, because that helps more than writing slow and then just hoping that you didn't make any mistakes because you were writing slowly. In terms of your writing, they check for clarity of thoughts, coherence, grammar, ideas and examples that are linked together. So the structure is the most important thing. You need to respect the structure, you need to respect the word limit. Also that your ideas should make sense. If someone is reading it for the first time, they wouldn't want to waste a lot of time to just understand what you've written. So it should be very clear and straightforward that they can just read it at first go. And also cite examples. Say things like how you would write in an academic paper, that according to the survey, according to this study, or citing specific examples that add to the narrative can help a lot.
Yeah, correct. And for speaking, because I specifically want to talk about speaking, because there's as you mentioned, it's 50-50. 50% how much ability you have to formulate the natural language, but also 50% how can you actually perform in terms of the exam, right? So for Section A and Section B of TEF Canada, like when you were in B1, we started with Section A, where we used to do like those 5-minute, question answer sort of stuff, and then in B2, we used to do that 10 minutes of influencing your friend. So according to you, like what are the important things to consider when it comes to speaking practice, when when any student or anyone who's learning French, when they're doing the speaking practice on regular basis, definitely with their instructor, but also how much important it is to do practice at home by yourself, just like practicing learning the scripts. So yeah, give your overall thought process and your inputs when it came to doing the speaking practice, and what do you think is important?
For speaking, I think the most important thing is to speak without any hesitancy, without losing confidence, and just try and keep trying, because fluency is built with time, and you need to just be in that zone and constant practice to achieve it. And some people try to just fix their grammar or fix little mistakes that they're making, but that's not as important as being coherent or being very clear about what you're trying to convey. Because basically we speak to convey a message, and as long as your message is conveyed, obviously you have to respect the grammar and structure. It doesn't have to be that wrong, but you need to...
It doesn't need to be perfect.
It doesn't need to be perfect, but you can always prioritize fluency and that natural flow of speaking.
Correct.
For exam, specifically, of course, you need to practice for part A, part B, practice the type of questions that you can ask, just play around with some of the structures, like you can use subjunctive, for asking some questions. You can use conditional, just try to use a variety of grammar structures. But yeah, for part B, you need to be specific about the arguments. So I think even practicing your logic and what are you going to counter every argument with, that also helps. But I think building, being spontaneous is like the number one skill that can help you with speaking.
Yeah, so having more confidence and ability to formulate your idea and explaining that is much more important than grammar. Grammar also comes in important, but even if you are like 80-85% accurate with it, it will still get the job done to get CLB7, right? Okay, so let's talk about reading and listening as well, because reading, I feel it's fine for most of students, but listening is very difficult when it comes to attempting TEF exam. So how did you practice both of these comprehensible inputs?
Yeah, so for reading and listening, I used to just keep on reading articles, news items, some administrative documents from the internet, and the resources that were discussed in class. I used to follow those, practice continuously. For listening, I used to just go on some of the websites that were included as resources and keep on listening to those news items or reportings. Other than that, I used to listen I used to do a lot of passive listening to just acquire more language and just try to understand language being used in different scenarios. So mostly all of my YouTube playlists now, it only suggests me French videos. So I tried to just, whatever I was trying to search, I would search it in French instead of searching it in English. So I didn't just follow people who were making content for students or when you're learning French, but actually if they were making content for French people, I used to listen to it because that helps.
So Himani, I want to ask this question on the behalf of beginners as well, on the behalf of intermediates as well, those who are learning French. What advice would you give to both of them, for those who are in the beginning journey but also in their mid journey of learning French?
Yeah, so for complete beginners, I guess starting and believing that this is going to work out is the most important things. In the beginning, you feel like you're not able to understand what the person is saying, or you're not able to read anything at all, or it takes you a long time. I still remember the first time I was reading an article in French. It took me 6 hours to decode it and completely write all the words that I didn't know because I didn't understand a single word. But then I just challenged myself to sit for 6 hours straight and just decode everything that was written in it. But that gave me the confidence, and over time it builds up. So for beginners, I think the most important thing is to just having trust in the process, that you're not going to see results in a day, you're not going to see results very quickly. It just comes with practice, and someday you won't even realize that you're able to speak or you're able to read and understand what they're saying. So for beginners, I think they can focus on reading as much as they can, just reading simple sentences, reading stories, and listening to basic conversations, basic narration in French. And for intermediates, as they advance and progress in the language, for them it's more important to just challenge themselves a little more and just try to get out of their comfort zone and experience with some of the other subjects that they haven't touched, because when you're learning a new language, you need to acquire vocabulary from different topics and subjects. So if you're good with economics, just try to read about arts. They can also try to read about holidays or les loisirs ou les activités santé, santé mentale, choses comme ça, or other things that they can just read about. So yeah, I think it has to be a mix of everything. When you have vocab and strong foundation for various topics and subjects in the language that you're learning, you should be good to go. And once you have that basic foundation or enough language acquisition, then you can move to speaking and writing, because then you would know how it can be used. And eventually I feel like grammar is is important, but it's not as important as just knowing the basic sense of a language. So even in English, we can, if someone says something incorrectly, we can basically point it out that it doesn't sound right. So even in French, eventually you'll feel like it doesn't feel right,
Yeah,
it doesn't sound right, like it's missing something.
Right.
And I think that's like the most important thing, even for genders. For people who are Francophone, to their ears, it doesn't feel right because it's, and yeah.
As an intermediate advanced learner, you start to build that sense yourself. Like, you know, you will listen to a gender and you'll be like, oh no, it's supposed to be masculine over, it's supposed to be feminine. So, you know, those things you build up over time, but requires a lot of language consumption actually. So this is all about today. If you're interested in French learning to clear your TEF Canada exam to get PR in Canada, make sure to go to the link below and book a meeting with my team or register for a workshop. I'm also running a workshop very soon. We'll see you in the next one. Au revoir.